Tigers have shown this season they can beat St George. In the first round, they came from 13 points behind to win by 24-19. Then just 4 days later, on the 8th of May, in a National Panasonic Cup quarter-final, the Tigers again defeated the Saints. This time, the scoreline, 20 points to 18. A game with many characteristics. Balmain have one of the competition's leading point scorers in their team, Ross CONLON. He scored 2 tries and kicked 73 goals for a total of 154. He's second only to Canberra's Ron Ghetto. St George, on the other hand, have the competition's leading try scorer, Steve LINNANE, totaling 52 points from 13 tries. The Balmain team readout for today is Jack, Davidson, Conlon, Schofield, Gartner, Bevan, Gale, Pierce, Owens, Brooks, Hemsley, Elias and Clark. The Saints, Burgess, Johns, O'Connor, Beattie, Morris, LINNANE, Haddock, Wynn, Fafita, Noak, Young, Ritchie and Jarvis. And the referee for this top encounter today is Kevin Roberts. So there it is, the start of this very interesting battle between the two top-of-the-table sides in 1985. And it's Michael O'Connor who's tackled inside the 22 first play of the game. Here's Jarvis. Outside the 22 and beyond. Wind coming from behind St George in the first 40. It's coming out of the north-northeast at 26 k's. Very strong, gusting up the ground. And with a fellow like Mike O'Connor in your side for goal kicking anyway, he's going to be taking shots from a long way out. Very, very heavy tackle there by Balmain. Well, Hemsley pulled Brooks out of the tackle. It was probably a bit silly of Kerry to do that, because what he in fact was saying to the referee, he's overindulged. And that's the way Robert saw it, but Brooks got under and Hemsley got over, and between them they crunched the St George player to the ground. Brooks penalised as Beattie shoots for touch into the enormous crowd here today. I haven't seen, I don't think, a bigger crowd at Leichhardt since the 76 Cup final between the Tigers and the Bears. That was in excess of 22,000, and this must be bordering on it. I'm sure the ground record for premiership matches here today has been well and truly busted. This is Noak. Premiership ground record here at Leichhardt is just over 19,000. Here's John Fafita, just outside the 22. One of the 2 second rowers that I see, Ian Walsh, believes should not be in this top grade side for St George. An attempted drop goal unsuccessful from Steve LINNANE. And back to the 22 for the place kick restart. Didn't miss by much, did it? The NEC replay. And this is the NEC big game on 10 Sports. Let's hope you enjoy it, because quite obviously this is the match that the fans have been waiting for. And it certainly couldn't have come on a more beautiful day. Bill Anderson, welcome to the telecast.
Thanks, Ray. It is going to be a great game. I think that St George have got the forward strength to win this one. Well, that's an interesting one from Kevin Roberts. The St George players moved up before the ball had cleared the ruck, and some referees tend to let that go. But as I was saying, I think St George have got the forward strength to stop the Tigers, provided they can eliminate a lot of the basic errors that have marred their game on occasions this year.
So Balmain taking the tap kick, and it's been fired out for a second man run from Clark. One of the Holy Cross connection. Elias getting the ball over to John Owens, who also came out of that mighty fine college. Johnny Owens, Benny Elias, that man Bevan, Gale, of course, he fits into that category, and so does Paul Clark. And later in the match you'll probably see another in the shape of Mike Marquito. This is Gary Jack with the ball, tackled 15 metres into Saints area. Across for Gale to give it wide to Elias, and then a dummy around the back of Pierce, and the little hooker takes the tackle from Pat Jarvis and from Ritchie. And LINNANE was involved too. Oh, Gale had to rush that. Beattie took it nicely. He was around about silly mid-on, and he picked it up beautifully, and he's taken play to near the halfway. Here's Young crashing it ahead. He's been, to my way of thinking, the form front rower of the year. But a man better versed in knowledge of forward play than I is another of my co-commentators, Graham Hughes. And Graham, if you can hear me, and I've got to preface it by saying that If he fires, the Saints certainly will fire.
Yes, he's been in sensational form, the same as Billy Note. Ray, the guy that just made the break then, but Craig Young leads from the front. He's the man that can get him home today, because I think if there's a weakness in the Balmain side, it might be simply because St George have the advantage in the front row.
Extreme pressure applied by Balmain on Graham Wynn. The Tigers would be fully aware that Wynn can be a very dangerous player. He has to be hustled, he has to be bustled, and if you can do that early, then Graham's game can go off very quickly. Another penalty going to Balmain.
And that's for the same reason as the first one. The St George players are moving up before the ball clears the ruck, and Kevin Roberts is a referee that's very careful about infringements around the play of the ball and likes to keep a good 5 metres.
So Scott Gale to take this touch finder. I was just watching that ball coming along the St George back line from Haddock to LINNANE, and so it went on. And there was just an expression of nerves there with certain St George players. Of course, it would be in the Balmain team as well. Here's Elias feeding it to Gale. On it goes to Clark, running off a second pivot, hitting it up to the 22 line. In the middle of the ground from Gale, it's gone across to Bevan. Bevan to Conlon. They've got the numbers, the Tigers. Conlon, oh, if he could have popped that ball, Gary Schofield would have been home for a try. A long ball out for Elias. A bad pass out to Gale. And now it's with Johnny Owens, and he's tackled 25 metres out. It's with Elias now to the right and for Hemsley, and Hemsley holds it back and gives it beautifully then for Bevan to give it back to Clark, and Clark to Schofield, and Schofield to Hemsley. Hemsley gets it to Conlon. It's a sensational try. The Tigers have scored and the crowd has gone absolutely berserk. A crowd of around 22,000. Partisan Balmain have seen the Tigers come out roaring in the opening minutes of the match. Aided, of course, by the penalties that went their way, but they really kept the pot boiling here. As Big Hemsley, he created the opening by delicately giving it to Bevan. Bevan got it to Big Paul Clark, and then it was on to Schofield in desperation to Hemsley. Hemsley to Conlon, and Ross Conlon scores his 3rd try of the year.
You can put this try down to Balmain's ability to keep the ball alive. There were a number of occasions when St George looked like they might have stopped it. There was one, but the player Bevan was able to get his hands free and keep the ball alive to support play. Back over the top to Clark, then on to Schofield. Schofield kept the ball alive to the support in the form of Hemsley. Hemsley on to Conlon, and over he goes for a great Balmain try.
Sure as hell was a good try for Balmain, and Kerry Hemsley, take a bow. That was a beautiful piece of work. He put Bevan through the hole, then he backed up and supported and gave the final pass, or one of the final passes to make the scoreline 4-0. And here's Conlon, as that picture shows you, 12 metres in, 21 metres out on that angle. Can he convert his own try? Bangs it. Beautiful kick. Never left the line at any stage. Ross Conlon and Balmain 6-0. The NEC big game, and the big one of the year is off and running.
Saints have got to put the big men down. One underneath, one over the top. This is Pearce. Score unchanged. 6-0 Balmain. Ooh, St George driving in with that tackle, and Bevan's injured. Bevan's hurt.
As he was bent back in the tackle, you'll see that his knee was and his calf were very much stretched, and I'm sure that this injury he's suffering as a result of it.
Well, here he is being hit. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Look at that ankle being buckled underneath the body of the tackler. And there's Frank Stanton taking Gary Bridge to the tunnel. He'd be saying to Gary, come here, we'll have a quick talk and you stretch, just in case we've got to make the replacement. There's the coach talking to the replacement 5/8. So he plays it courageously, and this is David Brooks, who's tackled just outside the 22. I'm looking at Bevan there with you at the moment, and you can see he's got very little feeling in that ankle. Oh, here's a charge down the 10th. Beautiful play by Mike O'Connor. That was very heady football. Gary Jack is holding him down as long as he can. LINNANE, he tries to do it himself. Balmain have miraculously got back into position.
And they can thank Gary Jack for that. A tremendous tackle to save a try.
So it's with Perry Haddock. He tries to slice through and turn it on the inside, but he didn't have a runner. Balmain, they were at 6s and 7s, but they have regrouped. Graham Wynn has tackled. 5 metres out. This is a shutout time for Balmain. It's with John Fafita now, but he wasn't deep enough. And he's about 3 metres from the line. 6-0 to Balmain. Perry Haddock sweeps it blindside. Craig Young chips, but it's too deep. It'll come back to the 22 for the restart.
Well, that was desperate stuff by Balmain. And Garry Jack, as Bill rightly pointed out, he saved them certainly 4 points. But Mike O'Connor, the way he handled it was great. Here's Perry Haddock trying to slice through and turn a ball on the inside, but you'll see there an awful absence of a runner, both inside and outside on the little fellow. This is David Brooks now. Here's Pearce, just settling at a couple of plays just to get their breath back and become composed again. This is Owens. I'm still looking at Bevan. He's still favouring that right ankle. As Gale gets the kick in, it's going down the ground. Will it find touch? Yes, it will. A scrum will go down some 7 metres inside the St. George 22 line. Off the boot of Scott Gale. There's Bevan still favouring that leg, favouring that ankle. What are they doing with Bridge? Does he put the tracksuit back on? Can you see him, Graham?
I'm sorry, Ray.
I'm saying, I know it's hard for you to hear down there with this tremendous crowd today. Has Bridge put his tracksuit back on? That's all I ask.
No, he's still trying to stay loose in the tunnel. Frank Stanton did want Bevan to come off if he wasn't 100%.
All right, so here's O'Connor turning it inside. Morris played at the ball. Then he was tackled. Balmain have come up with the football now. Some people probably thought Morris was tackled, not in possession, but he played at the ball, and that made him fair game. Jack, Elias, Clark, Davidson will support on the inside. The fans have come to their feet, sensing that the Tigers might score again. Clark plays it to Elias. Long ball to Gale. Equally long ball to Bevan. He can't run. Conlon, short pass away to Owens. Owens to Schofield. A quick ball for Pearce to give to Gardner. Gardner's down the line to Schofield. Kicks over the top. It'll be play on. The crowd appeals for a penalty for a late tackle on Schofield. But not for mine. Not for mine. And it's St. George's Graham Wynn with the ball. This was the tackle on Schofield. He got the kick in. And I'd prefer to think, and obviously it's open for discussion, that Schofield appeared to run into Burgess more so than the St. George fullback went for a late tackle.
I thought that Burgess just held his ground, that he's entitled to do that.
So it's a penalty to the Saints now. Well, it was 2 minutes ago we were watching Balmain under extreme pressure. There's Bevan, he's staying on, he's just been asked the question. And then we just saw Balmain piling on the pressure, throwing the ball about. And we used to call the Canterbury side the entertainers. But I'll tell you what, I think Balmain has taken over that mantle with the football they've played this year. Is Jarvis rucking it out. Graham, we've just had a shot of Stanton giving final instructions to Gary Bridge. He's coming on, eh?
Yeah, Bevan's no good, Ray. He'll be coming straight off now.
All right, so Balmain to go onto the attack. It'd be a fitting finale for Paul Bevan if they could score on the last 6 tackles that he'll probably be out there for. Here's Hemsley, 10 metres away from the line on the hillside of the ground, the scoreboard side of Leichhardt. The ball comes to Gale. They set for one of their many plays. Schofield to Conlon, infield for Jack. And Jack is tackled on the 22 by the little fellows, Haddock and LINNANE. Away for Gale and on to Pearce, and Pearce goes for the bust. But Fafita is there with Beattie to pull him down. They're about 15 metres out from the Saints line. To Gale, out to Elias wide. Back to Gale. Gale trying to get between them, but he's tackled on 5. Right in the middle of the ground, Bevan is off. Bridge is on now in jumper 17. They'll go for the air here, I would think, Balmain. Back it goes for David Brooks. A drop goal shot. It looks beautiful. He's got it. It's 7 points to 0 now in favour of the Tigers. It was spun back for David Brooks, and he had all the time in the world, and he put it straight over the black and gold dot here at Leichhardt. 7-0 to the home side. There it is, the NEC big game scoreline.
What St George can do in this set of 6. On previous occasions they've had the ball, they've made a few breaks, but Balmain have held together because they've shown tremendous commitment in defence, and their defence has looked great under pressure, and that's when it counts.
So here's St George on the attack inside the 22. Billy Noak, he's been one of the real success stories for St George this year. Johnny Fafita, his second row partner, 9 metres out from the line. And now to the blind for Haddock to come open, for Young to go back blind. It's with Jarvis. Now it's with Billy Noak, so they've worked plenty of crosses. It's out to LINNANE, a cut-out ball to O'Connor. O'Connor puts a grubber kick into the corner for Chris Johns. Going across is CONLON. Oh, CONLON saves the day. Heavens above, Ross CONLON. That was desperate stuff from him. I thought he might have gone into the concrete gutter that forms the perimeter here of Leichhardt. So fast was he travelling. In fact, as you can see by that, he didn't finish far from it. Thankfully for him, he was going to hit it tail first. So CONLON's made a couple of very important contributions. This is Graham Wynn tackled now, breaking from his scrum and pulled up on the blind side. Haddock's the dummy half. Chris Johns comes in to take the first. Johns is very close. Just about 3 or 4 blades of grass away from that try line. Played back for Ritchie to sweep to Haddock. He holds it back, he gets under. He tried to run between the legs of Gary Hemsley. But as big as Hemsley is, he couldn't fit. It's gone across for Young to stretch the ball to LINNANE. A long ball out for O'Connor to Beattie. Beattie to Burgess. They've got the numbers. Burgess, he's tackled 5 metres out. Desperate stuff out there by Gary Bridge. Now it's Steve Morris. Billy Noak tries to hurdle the defence, but he's tackled a metre from the line. It's a great game of rugby league at the moment as Steve LINNANE puts the grubber kick ahead, and it's over the dead ball line. So it's a line drop out to restart.
And once again, it was that last-ditch defence by Balmain that was able to keep their try line intact.
No doubt about the ruling of the line drop out taken across by Balmain. So Saints will now come back and mount pressure for another 5 or 6 tackles. Let's have a look at it. 7-0 if you've just joined us. And let me tell you, you've missed 25 minutes of exciting football if you've just come in. Balmain opening at a blistering pace. Running into a stiff breeze as Scott Gale drops out into the wind. And who said rugby league players go and drop kick? 51 metres on the fly, point to point, into the breeze. This is Burgess now. 32 metres out from the Balmain line. They go to the blind side for John Fafita. He got under one, and just as well he did. Pearce it was going in over the top. Jarvis goes straight ahead. 18 metres out from the Balmain line. An enormous crowd here at Leichhardt as the Saints go on to another attacking raid. They switch it rather extravagantly back to the blind side. And so they'll put the scrum down just outside the Balmain 22. Seven nothing. In favour of the Tigers. They win the scrum and Gale comes to the open side, but he's met by LINNANE and Wynn. This is John Owens. Jack Elias inside for Clark.
I think if Roy Masters had one worry going into this game, it was going to be St George's handling errors, and that's something that's bugged them all year, and so far they've made 6 mistakes, and no doubt Roy Masters would be concerned about that, and that coupled with this ironclad Balmain defence is making it a difficult task for the Dragons.
Burgess going back to field. A Scott Gale kick ahead, and here's Burgess pursued by Gary Bridge. Eventually got him. Plays the ball, they keep stretching it to the left, and this is Michael Beattie. Hemsley across the top of John Owens underneath as they come back to the centre of the ground, and Jarvis.
They're finding it hard to break the line, aren't they? And I think this is where Perry Haddock and Steve LINNANE have got to take the initiative and kick.
Ritchie inside the 40-metre line. He's still going. He ran away from Steve LINNANE though. LINNANE got there to support him, but he ran away from him. Young, John Fafita now. Fafita gets it to Beattie. Beattie is tackled and loses the ball.
That's a try.
Morris puts it down. Referee Roberts giving the try. Referee Kevin Roberts has ruled the try. This was how it happened. Craig Young to John Fafita, and then it was Michael Beattie, and it was knocked down by Balmain's Garry Schofield. I've got to be honest, I didn't see it. Kevin Roberts was on the spot to see exactly what transpired, and that's why Bill Anderson didn't hesitate to say that's a fair try.
Well, this was a mixture of some scrappy play and some great play by St George. There was no doubt it did come off Schofield's hand, as we've seen many times in the past. Morris kicked and chased, and he came up with the 4 points.
So, what looked on the surface as though it might have been a refereeing blunder turned out to be a spot-on ruling, and St George are back to a situation of 7-4, their first points in the match. But as I pointed out earlier, this breeze is a big one, and I'm sure Roy Masters would rather have been 3 points in front, if not 7 in front, coming up to the break in 10 minutes' time, than trailing by 3 at the moment.
Just when I'm saying they're finding it hard to break the line,
They do.
So Mike O'Connor converts. The extras are there for the Saints, and 7 points to 6 is the scoreline between the Premiership front runners, Balmain and St George. Conlon booting it down towards Michael Beattie, who played such an important role in the try that was eventually scored by Stevie Morris. Fafita played his part as well. Ball struck for by Ben Elias, and it comes down for Balmain. It's with Gale, and now Schofield. Flick passes inside for Gartner. And Gartner, he was heading infield, and he ran into a Graham Wynn special. Across now for Gale. This is Bridge. Now Owens. The centres came up very quickly. They had to, because they were outnumbered by at least 2. Here's Pearce, taken by LINNANE and Beattie. Play just outside the St George 22 line. Here's Hemsley. Gets the pass out the back for John Owens. On it goes to Wayne Pearce. Pearce has galloped up towards the 10-metre line. It's been kicked ahead by Benny Elias, and Craig Young has to go back. He keeps a watchful eye on it. A tense moment there for St George. Out comes Chris Johns to take the quick tap. Tackled on the 30-metre point. This is Perry Haddock. Now Ritchie, who made that big incision through the Balmain defensive line. In fact, all he did was he dummied out of the acting half position, and he found the 2 markers had spread. Here's LINNANE over the half. The pass is forward. The pass forward to Burgess. Well, here's Steve LINNANE, undoubtedly throwing the ball in a forward direction.
the last 5 minutes have shown us that this game's starting to open up, and the area it's opening up is just around the rucks, and that's an indicator that this game has been played at a tremendous pace, and both sets of forwards are getting tired.
Well, Roberts has now penalised Gale for an incorrect feed. He's indicating he wants it in the centre, but if there's been one blemish on Kevin Roberts' refereeing performance today, I was about to say what a game he's having, the man with the whistle. But he's let a couple of second-row feeds go early in the match, and now he's decided to penalise for it.
And these are the situations when you're the opposition coach that you start to worry about Craig Young. 9 minutes to go before half-time. Your forwards are getting tired. You know that Young is a tremendous ball player, and he's going to take special watching in this set of 6.
Here is Young with the ball, giving it back to Ritchie, now to Jarvis. Jarvis up to the 22-metre point. And we're in that situation of about 8 minutes of time before the break. Haddock had a little juggle of the ball. That just took a little bit of the edge off this attacking play. And it's Graham Wynn who's going to play it in the centre of the ground. It's gone away to Haddock on the left, into the middle now for Young. Young is tackled. He's about 15 metres out from the Balmain line. I reckon that's 4 tackles gone. Ritchie across to Jarvis. Jarvis thumping it ahead. That's the 4th tackle now. He's playing the ball back to Ritchie, away to Young. He switches it across back to where it was before. Haddock gives the pass to Noak. Noak gets inside Owens. Noak has got the fullback to beat. He's over! It's a try for Billy Noak. But I thought Gary Jack had him. And I think Gary Jack thought he did too. The Saints have put a couple of tries on the board in quick succession. It looked like it was going to the open side, but Young switched it back to the blind. Haddock gave it to Noak. He got inside John Owens. Gary Jack comes at him. He looks as though he's got him, but Noak is able to free himself from the tackle and pick up the 4 points.
Craig Young read this well. He realised that St George had extras back on the blind side. He switched the ball there. There was a hint of a shepherd, but I don't think it was. Billy Noak stepped off the right foot. Jack had saved Balmain once before this afternoon, but wasn't strong enough to do it again, and Noak crashed over.
So Mike O'Connor with a relatively simple conversion attempt. Hits it sweetly. He's got the extras again, and so St George, after trailing 7-0, are leading by 12 points to 7. Interesting statistic just been handed to me. Missed tackles, Balmain 14, St George 7.
I think you'd find that most of those have been in the last 10 minutes.
Kick off down to Burgess. This crowd, they certainly are getting their money's worth. They're jam-packed in here. There's not room for another individual, I don't think. Look at them. They've grabbed everything they can. Rooftops, tops of toilets, fences, anything at all. Have a look at these two blokes. Thank goodness it's not a scorcher. They wouldn't be sitting down for a while.
I still think that St George have got opportunities to use their kicking game a little bit more. Balmain are playing no cover defence except Gary Jack back, and I'm sure they'd get success out of it.
Great ball by Craig Young to Barry Haddock. Now it's Billy Noak again. He didn't take a look that time. He had LINNANE running free on his outside. And it's a penalty to the Saints, and it's a sin bin. A sin bin for Gary Jack of 10 minutes. Here was Billy Noak, tackled by Jack. Jack knew the situation was desperate, and Jack just persisted and got himself 10 minutes back in the sin bin. Here's O'Connor now. 30 metres out on a bit of an angle. He's got it again, Michael O'Connor. He's taken St George to a lead of 14 points to 7. Have a look at this bloke. It's CONLON now with the restart. Burgess. Recalling what I told you in our lead up to this match today. The Tigers in the first round were down by 13 points and they came back to beat St George. Here they are trailing 14 points to 7. It's Young throwing beautiful footballs all over the ground. That wasn't so hot, but he really has been the difference, Craig Young. So it's Balmain scrum win, and Pearce standing out of his scrum, of course, with Gary Jack in the sin bin. And it's across to Gale now. This man is Gartner, and on to Bridge. Bridge away from LINNANE. He's about 26 metres out from the St George line. And that's the second tackle, and he's gone to Gale. And Gale gets it across to John Owens, and he gets a ball away for Russell Gartner. And Gartner goes towards the sideline, and Steve Morris puts him into touch. That was a very lucky ball that Russell Gartner finished up with, and Morris, very cagey piece of wing football there. He
he offered the sideline to Russell Gartner.
You know, I don't know if it's a good idea to try and beat Morris on the outside.
I agree with you entirely, but he sort of sucked him into going there. And here's a penalty going to Balmain. It's for collapsing in the scrum. So Balmain will have the opportunity now to mount a rehearsed move. They'll find the line. They do off the boot of Gale, and they'll probably work a couple of plays. One to the open and maybe one back to the blind before they go for what they're actually working on. So Gartner is tackled. Owens comes another one back to the middle. They'll go back to the blind for sure. They're stacking it. Here's Gale, and here's the switch in direction for Pearce. Pearce coming across the ground. He's tackled. Now they're coming to the open side. Benny Elias throws the big dummy, and he's about a metre out on tackle number 4. Gee, they're light on the blind side, St. George. Balmain have read it and gone to it. Hemsley can't take it. John Owens has come down with it, but the ball went forward off Hemsley, and a scrum will form with St. George to feed. It had already come off Kerry Hemsley's arms and gone forward. St. George coming up with the ball. Perry Haddock about 12 metres out from his own line. This is Burgess. Now it's Jarvis. And there's the siren.
That's the end of the first 40 minutes. St. George, after trailing 7-0, are leading by 14 points to 7. Sideline comment, Graham Hughes.
Well, Ray, a magnificent comeback by St. George. Balmain started out very impressively, but the Saints certainly put it together in those last 15 or 20 minutes. The match is far from over, and for me, the match will probably be decided on how well Balmain used this second half breeze. Their trumps in that area will be Scott Gale and Gary Bridge.
Welcome back to the second half of this match between Balmain and St. George. 102, the total tackle count for Balmain, and David Brooks with 14 in the back row has topped the Tigers' count. St. George, Johnny Fafita with 14. Craig Young's only made 5, but what he might have lacked in defence, he certainly made up for with his ball skills. Score 14-7. St. George trailed 7-0 and then came back to lead by that margin with 2 quick tries in the latter part of the half. So St. George running into the breeze for the second half. Interesting statistic in that first half, running with the breeze. St. George only kicked 6 times and Balmain kicked 8. This is Russell Gartner now. Gale, Bridge.
Bridge is going to be a very important player for Balmain in this second half. He's played a full reserve grade game, then come on to replace the injured Bevan in the first half of this match, and Frank Stanton must be concerned just how long he can keep going for.
It's Kerry Hemsley fighting to play the ball. One of the St. George players must have got kicked by Hemsley. It's over to Schofield now, and he's tackled just outside his own 22. Perry Haddock was the man who got, I think, a kick in that tackle on Hemsley. Well, there's a kick ahead by Benny Elias. He's hoping for the best, and it's found touch. I was looking back at Elias. He was lying on the ground, and he was praying that it would find touch. Otherwise, it was going to be a scrum down just outside his 22. As it is, it's not far outside the St. George 22.
Just carrying that point on a little bit with Gary Bridge, I think replacements, considering the pace at this game's being played, are going to be very important, and the judicious use of replacements by both coaches could very much determine the outcome.
So Graham Winner's tackled near the halfway line. What's the news from the dressing rooms, Graham?
Well, 2 points for Balmain, Ray. One is that they've just got to continue to kick that ball down and try and play the game well inside the St. George half, and also tighten up their defence just on the fringe of the rucks. And interestingly enough, from the St. George dressing room, that point was hammered home too, that they wanted Perry Haddock standing just a little bit wider of the rucks and bringing for feeder Craig Young and Pat Jarvis off him. The Balmain forwards, they thought, was just starting to tire.
As Perry Haddock getting a kick in as we speak. He was put under pressure by Elias, and now St. George have got Balmain where they want them, down inside the 22. And Balmain, though they might be in possession of the ball, really they're in a defensive situation, aren't they? Here's a penalty going to Balmain. St. George up inside the 5. Gale finding touch. He went for everything. It was a pretty adventurous type of a kick. It paid off for him. They take the tap on the halfway. Gartner goes to the middle. Now it's Gale. Here's Clark. And now it's Gale. Bridge. Showing it a couple of times and looking for an opening. It's a move that we've seen many times from Balmain. A lot of work goes into it. And this is Benny Elias with it now, just outside the 22. Here's Gale, Owens. Pearce was looming up on the outside, but St. George have managed to snuff him out. Wayne, he loves to get out wide and hit it hard. Here he is out wide again with Gale kicking into that corner. It's a wide kick. It's gone into touch. It wasn't meant to do that on positive. He was really kicking for his flanker into that bottom corner. Scott just has a look at the sun. And it is beaming down into the eyes of St. George in that corner that Gale kicked into. 14-7, repeating the score, and here's a penalty to Balmain. It's against Haddock for his feet of the scrum. Minor grades here at Leichhardt today. The under-23s went to the Saints and the reserves to the Saints.
One of Balmain's trump cards this year has been their English import centre, Garry Schofield. He had a fairly quiet first half, and no doubt a few words from Frank Stanton at half-time might have indicated that he wanted Garry to get more involved. So let's look for that in this second half.
I can see Gary Jack coming back onto the field after being in the sin bin for 10 minutes. Schofield has been playing back at full-back. Jack just comes on and lets him know that he's back. So the scrum is packing about 10 metres out from the St. George line. Won by the Dragons. This is Graham Wynn. Tied up by Owens and Pearce. Here's Jarvis. Craig Young. John Fafita. He loves to run, John. He's like a young colt. He's born to run, and he gets outside Craig Young and he hits it up very, very keenly, like this man, Billy Note, up to the halfway line. It's been Fafita and Note running out wide that has busted Balmain. Here's Beattie. LINNANE dropping it into that touchline where the 22-metre line is, and so a scrum will go down with a Balmain feed. Replacement getting ready for the Tigers. Let's go to Graham.
Mick Campbell in 19 for the Tigers on the sideline, Ray. He'll go on to replace Gary Bridge.
Well, this crowd today at Leichhardt emphasises again, if you give the Sydney sporting public the big clash on a Butte day, they'll come out. The pass from Fafita, look forward to me. It's with Mike O'Connor. Gale chasing. Burgess's. The pass inside has gone astray. The referee's gone down. He and Wayne Pearce clashed. Burgess is tackled on the 22 line, but I honestly believe there was a pass up the ground that was forward, and maybe there was another one just there. Graham Winner's tackled, 10 metres out from the line. Steve Morris runs, gives it to Haddock. Haddock to Jarvis. The ball again is on the ground. Jarvis rakes it back. Going back for it, there is Burgess, and Burgess is tackled 20 metres out from the Balmain line. Played back there for Ritchie to give to Fafita. He comes to Brooks, gets his pass to Jarvis. Jarvis stands and gets it to Ritchie, but he sold him a St Vincent's. That was a real hospital pass. Poor little Ritchie, he was crunched by Clark. It's gone to Haddock. He goes for the air, and here they come, the St George runners, but the ball has sat up there in the wind, and Conlon had it, lost it. The ball went from John Owens across now for Davidson. He gets the pass inside, picked up by Benny Elias. 6 more tackles, rules the referee. St George stretched to the limits at the moment, but now they strike prematurely, and it'll be Balmain to clear. There's Wayne Pearce going up to check on the health of Kevin Roberts. I think that's what he's doing. Maybe not. Maybe I've misread it. But it was a heavy clash of Pearce and the referee. And just for a fleeting moment, I thought Roberts may have lost a little bit of control because he was probably getting himself reassembled. Little passage of play where a couple of forward passes appeared to creep in. Another penalty, St George inside the 10. Conlon with the breeze at his back. I wouldn't be surprised if he kicks.
I think he's got to have a shot with the scoreline 14-7. This is the one that can put them within striking distance.
So Wayne Pearce just simply called Conlon across and asked him the question, and Conlon said, sure, no worries. So Gartner is going over towards the centre of the ground to chase this ball keenly. Here comes Conlon. It's in flight, it's getting away, but he's put it dead. So it'll come out for the drop kick by St George. I thought St George could have taken that ball in the in goal, really.
Yes, Michael O'Connor should have caught that one and run it out. They would have been working the ball out of their own quarter. As it is, they're going to give the ball back to Balmain from the 22-metre dropout, and Balmain have got another chance to exert some sort of pressure on them.
So no change to the score. 14-7 St George. Here's Gartner getting it to Pearce, and Pearce getting across the halfway line. He's picked up by Billy Noak and driven into the ground. That was a good tackle by the St George second rower. Here's Elias away from dummy half, one of the game's best dummy half runners. And Elias will play the ball back to Big Hemsley. Across it comes to Gale. Gale away for Conlon. Conlon out to Schofield. Schofield ran around behind David Brooks, but there didn't appear to be an obstruction of the defence. It's a twofold ruling, that one. It's got, there's only one way to read it, of course, but some people read it incorrectly. This is Campbell, the replacement.
This game's a long way from over. I've had the feeling that for the last 5 or 6 minutes, Balmain are playing a lot better than the way they finished the first half. They're running onto the ball with more commitment.
Pearce got a magic ball out the back for Gale. Gale to Davidson, and Davidson throws the ball willy-nilly, and Graham Winner's come up with it for St George. Balmain down by 7 points. Yeah, sure, they're playing catch-up football, but I doubt that it's time yet to press the panic button, and throwing passes like that at this stage is not going to help them. Ball played by Craig Young. Jarvis goes up on the blind. Tackled out there by Scott Gale. This is Ritchie, and now Young. Just over the halfway line is Craig Young. Of course, a win here today, vital for St George's approach to any further encounters with Balmain. It would have been their 3rd defeat at the hands of the Tigers. And, oh dear, Jack passes inside the 22 to Davidson, who appeared to knock on, but the referee said knock backwards. Is Garry Jack trying to repair the damage. This is Campbell, away to Conlon. Conlon stepping, Elias, Hemsley, taken by Young, gets it away to Owens. And play is still just outside the Balmain 22. Well, Ross Conlon is down in the back play. He's motionless on the turf. In fact, I saw a couple of his teammates rush over to see that he was all right as Balmain kicks in general play. A huge kick, finding touch. The scrum will go down deep into St. George's territory. Scrum to be fed by Perry Haddock. Won by St. George. And the little fellow scoots out the open side. LINNANE got a ball to Burgess. Burgess is tackled. Oh, it was a desperate tackle. It had to be made by Campbell. Now they go through to Jarvis. Fafita. Conlon very, very groggy. He's not quite sure where he is or what happened. Graham, you're sitting down on the sideline, and it's harder for you to see it than us. But did you see anything? I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you. Here's a big run down the flank there for Johns. He's tackled midway 22, halfway on the Balmain end of the pitch. Yes, Graham, I had to pull out of it.
Well, I didn't pick up anything in the tackle, but he's certainly been knocked senseless, Ross Conlon. He can't take any further part in this match, and I've just noticed that Stephen Humphries in 15 with Frank Stanton here at the front of the tunnel. He'll be going straight on.
Well, St. John's ambulance men are going on. The stretcher is going on, and Kevin Roberts has called timeout for the removal from the field of Balmain's prolific point scorer, Ross Conlon. He scored a try in this match, the first of the game, and kicked one goal. It's a big, big blow to lose Conlon at this stage of the game. Well, here's the last time Ross handled the ball. He was tackled, and on his way to the ground, his head may have come in contact with a St. George arm, but I'm glad we showed you that, because it proved there was absolutely nothing in it. Whatever happened was purely accidental. And there's Ross being stretchered from the field, heavily concussed, and here's Stephen Humphries on the field in jumper number 15. It looks like John Davidson has gone to full back. Oh, good tackle by Johnny Fafita. He came across and he had tremendous determination in his drive. This is Brooks.
I think what's happened is Humphries has gone onto the wing and Garton has moved into the centre position.
Now it's Campbell to Clark. So Balmain have had some crippling injuries in the match. They lost one 5-8. They used another one for as long as they could. Then he had to be replaced, or was replaced. And then they just lost Conlon. So the back line has been shuffled and shuffled again. Elias kicks. Burgess going quickly across the ground. Morris is there. Humphries has come through in defence. And it's a penalty, is it? No, I thought he may have been going to blow the whistle and give St. George a penalty, because Stephen Humphries appeared to be in front of the kicker. And thereby, of course, had to stay outside the 5. But it's played by O'Connor. Jarvis put it down. You don't see him do that very much. And this is Pearce. So Balmain are now in a very strong attacking position, only 15 metres out. Gale away to John Owens, and Owens stands in a tackle. It's gone to Elias, and Elias is pulled down. 18 minutes of the NEC big game remaining, and it's a penalty to Balmain. Well, of course, they've got Garry Schofield, who's a very accomplished goal kicker. David Brooks, of course, kicks goals just fine. He was the Balmain kicker last year, but this man Schofield, they say, has a very impressive goal-kicking record back in England. So a very worried Frank Stanton. Garry Schofield is the kicker. His side down by 7. They need this one. He's got it. Yes, he's got it. The Tigers are back within striking distance. 14-9. St. George leading in the NEC big game. 14 points to 9. 15 minutes to go. O'Connor puts in the little kick. Gary Jack is there to take it. And Gary's away. Well, they should have pinned him back on the 32-metre line. Missed tackles, 20 for Balmain, 10 for the Saints.
Here's Gary Schofield. He'll want his winger inside. Humphreys is there, but it's Elias who gets the pass away. It's John Owens speeding it across to Campbell. Campbell to Hemsley. Can he promote it? He does. It's with John Owens. He's tackled 3 metres into St. George's area. 14 points to 9. St. George leading as it goes out from Campbell to Clark. And Clark is tackled. Still about 9 metres into St. George's area. Away goes Gale from dummy half. He's in and around and away to the 22 and he dummies. Oh, he dummies.
Should have passed the ball.
He had 3 men outside him unmarked. Benny Elias now dummies and throws the long ball to Hemsley. Hemsley to Owens. Owens shrugs off a tackle. He's tackled now 15 metres out. 5 tackles gone for Balmain. Hemsley, Benny Elias. He puts up the bomb. Up they go for it. Burgess. No pressure really there on him. Well, the bomb, as you can see, it didn't have a very big chase. So it's a line drop out for St. George.
Balmain showed us in that set of 6 that they're on the recovery trail. They certainly haven't thrown the towel in. Sometimes players make good decisions under pressure and sometimes they make bad ones. And in that set of 6, I thought that Scott Gale made a bad option. He elected to throw a dummy and run when he had unmarked support outside.
It was a real blunder for the youngster, but here's Gary Jack going back to the 22 line. Brace yourself for the last 12 of this one. They look like being pretty hectic. Here's Campbell, the replacement. Look at this run from the number 19. He's 8 metres out. He's inspired Balmain. Gale, long ball out for Owens. Around the corner for Brooks. Over the top it goes. It's play on. No, it's not. The ball has gone forward, says the referee. Let's go back to our seats, ladies and gentlemen. Steve Funnell coming on in 23 for the Saints. Billy Noak is coming off totally exhausted. Graham O'Grady's getting ready. Noak comes off with 22 tackles to his credit. LINNANE is tackled. In fact, Campbell makes a crunching tackle on him. Graham Wynn comes away. Graham O'Grady is on the sideline in 21. A tremendous atmosphere here at Leichhardt. Before a crowd of, I think, around 22,000. They haven't given us the crowd. The ground record in excess of 22,000 set on cup final night back in 76. But the ground record for the premiership undoubtedly has been smashed. But I'm telling you, the noise here has been absolutely deafening today. Funnell is tackled 30 metres out, 14 to 9 in favour of the Dragons. Conlon suffering from concussion. That's the report from the rooms. And it's knocked down by O'Connor. Gale! Gale's away! He's very fast! He's still going, Gale! He picks up Davidson! Davidson tackled! Davidson is tackled 10 metres out from the line. St. George trying to reassemble. It's a push ball to the right. Away to Elias. On to Schofield. He gets out of a tackle. He steps back in field. He picks up Gary Jack. Kerry Hemsley. It's now Scott Gale. Gale striding up to the 5-metre line. He's held there. Balmain piling on the pressure. Hemsley. Gary Schofield. Schofield's a metre out from the line. 14 points to 9 in favour of the Dragons. With 10 to go. It's Scott Gale. Long ball for Gardner. Gardner floats it out for Humphreys. He'll score. Humphreys is in. Humphreys has scored. Wide out. It's 14 points to 13. Another sensational game between the Dragons and the Tigers. Young Stephen Humphreys scores the try. Frank Stanton comes from his seat. Well, Scott Gale, he almost, you could see him, was too exhausted to pass the ball. And then it went across. A fortuitous bounce for Humphreys. And then the young fullback goes in to score, playing on the wing here as a replacement.
It's been a lift-in performance by Scott Gale. It's raised the Tigers' hopes. He virtually did everything himself in the last 5 minutes. A long ball out to Humphreys. It was a bit of a scrappy ball, but he picked it up, knew the way to the try line and did the rest.
He only came out of retirement 6 weeks ago, this youngster, the son of former league boss Kevin. And I reckon Dad would be pretty proud of him at the moment. But what about Schofield? He can earn all his fee here with this kick. From the touchline. It looks looks good. It looks good. It's a goal. He's kicked it from the sideline, and the crowd has erupted. The Balmain crowd has erupted. The home side is a point in front. Balmain 15, St. George 14. Top of the table clash. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. What a moment in sport this is. Garry Schofield, you are the Lord Mayor of Balmain if you want the job. Stand aside, Nifty. You've lost the job, I'd say, to this young man, Garry Schofield. Benny Elias is tackled. 30 metres out. I can't hear a thing here at Leichhardt. The noise is absolutely deafening now as this home crowd really giving it to the boys now. Wayne Pearce, 11 metres, his side of the halfway. Benny Elias, away for Campbell. What a game he's had since he came on. Clark to Jack. Jack, up to the halfway goes Garry Jack, the Australian fullback. The National Panasonic Cup champions and premiership leaders in front by a point, and Gale. Gale has found touch. 8 metres inside the 22 line. And again, the crowd goes absolutely berserk. Graham Hughes, are you still there or are you speechless?
Well, this is a magnificent game of football, Raver. I'm just going to say that the instructions had already been sent out from Frank Stanton while Schofield was taking that kick for goal. He wanted safety first from all the players, and he wants the ball down to the St. George quarter, and they played it to perfection.
O'Grady, he gets a pass away. Johns is running with the ball. He's tackled 10 metres out from, or 10 metres his side of halfway. This is Michael Beattie. Desperate stuff from Russell Gardner.
And isn't that David Brooks' field goal in the first half looking important now? And it wouldn't surprise me at all that if St. George can get down in the Balmain quarter, that they'll also look for a field goal. They'd be prepared to settle for a draw in this one.
St. George have got 6 more tackles. It's Perry Haddock stretching it out to Michael O'Connor. He gets away from 2 forwards. He kicks ahead. Hemsley might have taken him late. He did. It's going to be a penalty. It's going to be a St. George penalty for Michael O'Connor to change the scoreline in their favour. So Hemsley comes off. Mike Marquito goes on. And the Balmain crowd applauding Hemsley for a strong game. 3 from 4 for Mike O'Connor. He's kicking into the breeze, but he's only 22 metres out, and he's 12 metres in from touch. Can Michael O'Connor kick the goal? If he can, Saints go back to the lead. He hits it. He's got it. He's got it. Yes, sirree! Michael O'Connor puts the Dragons in front by a point, and the red and whites are going up now. What a finish. Started with a blaze, it did, and then St. George in the second part of the first half rushed on 2 tries, came from 7-0 down to lead 14-7 as Haddock is tackled 30 metres out. Down injured as Benny Elias for Balmain. This is Graham Wynn taking it up towards the Balmain 22. It won't be any consolation to these players, I'm sure, if and when they're watching our telecast, but let me say this, there hasn't been a loser out there today. In reality, I suppose there has been, but by Jove, you've turned on a great one for the crowd, both on TV and here today. They pot the field goal. Michael O'Connor drop goals, and the Saints lead by 17 points to 15. Mike O'Connor, a drop goal, 17-15, a shallow restart as Elias limps around in the line, but he would be the player that you'd want to run at right now because he's working on one leg, really.
I didn't think that was a good restart of play at all by Balmain. They virtually just conceded possession to St. George about 35 metres out from their line. I would have thought they might have gone for a bouncy short kick-off or a chip kick.
This is Pat Jarvis now. Steve Funnell tackled right on the halfway. Perry Haddock. Now it's Graham O'Grady. Back for Craig Young. Craig Young up and turns it inside for Fafita. And Fafita is tackled 15 metres into Balmain's territory. Here's Haddock getting in and around. He puts the kick up. Gary Jack's underneath it. And Jack with one of the last throws of the dice. Tackled 30 metres out. Played back to Campbell. Campbell to Gale. Gale to Gartner. Gartner to Davidson. Davidson's making a long run. He's got to centre the ball if he can. Snuffed out by Graham O'Grady.
And that's one of the reasons that Roy Masters has sent Graham O'Grady onto the field. He's a tremendous reader of defence. He saw that St George were in danger and he covered it up.
Here's Johnny Owens tackled now. 15 metres into St George's territory. Benny Elias shapes to kick, holds it back, floats it out to Humphreys. Humphreys is taken by Graham Wynn. Official attendance 21,707 as Benny Elias goes from dummy. It's a penalty to Balmain. Balmain have a chance to level. Gary Schofield will be called across to shoot for 1 point. Would you believe, almost in the same place as he converted the Stephen Humphreys try. He can level at 17 all and leave Balmain on their own at the top of the table. He's missed it. It left the boot badly and Saints come down with it. It's Glenn Burgess, tackled 5 metres out from the St George line. 17-15 to the Dragons, and here's Funnell with the ball now. Tackled 11 metres into the field of play. Craig Young, a tower of strength for the St George side. Graham Wynn on the quarter. Saints playing it close to the chest. Shaw and Slow does the job at the moment. Fafita just beyond the quarter-way line. 5 tackles gone, and Graham Wynn kicks for touch, and Stephen Humphreys allowed it to go. So we see this scrum, probably the last of the match, going down 7 metres into St George's territory, fed by Gale, won by the black and golds, out to Campbell, away to Schofield. Schofield tackled right on the halfway line. The siren must be only a matter of seconds out. It's a penalty to Balmain for holding him down in the tackle. Pearce is saying to Schofield, can you kick it? They're going to go for it. 1 metre on their own side of halfway. Well, I don't know whether Schofield's a long kicker of the ball or not, but he must think he is.
Well, I'd feel a lot more confident if it was Ross Conlon.
So, there is no doubt that Pearce said, do you reckon you can get the distance? Schofield said, I'll give it a shot. David Brooks would have had the length for this, you know. Brooks is the bloke who would have had the length.
Well, there's a strong wind behind him, and maybe distance isn't a factor. It's just a matter of steering it straight.
Here he goes, 52 metres out. He's missed it. Graham O'Grady takes it back. Heart-stopping stuff here at Leichhardt. O'Grady with a block-busting run. He's still going. O'Grady to the halfway line. There's the siren. It's all over. A memorable game of rugby league, provided by 2 very good rugby league sides who may well be playing the 1985 grand final. For the Saints, Morrison no tries, O'Connor 4 goals and a drop goal. Balmain, Conlon and Humphreys tries. Conlon a goal, Schofield 2 and Brooks a field goal.
Mike, I saw you laugh there. They don't come any tougher or closer.
Yeah, that was a tremendous game. And either side really deserved to win it, but I think we wanted it a little bit more than they did today. Tremendous effort, particularly on our forwards part, I thought. And backs just never stopped tackling. It was a good all-round performance.
I'll put it to you, what was going through your minds in those dying few minutes? You had the kick all lined up.
Oh, that one, I was more worried about Scully's 2 attempts than mine. Nothing in particular, I just had to concentrate.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Well played. A very happy St George's Michael O'Connor. After the break, Billy Anderson with a worthy man of the match.
In a memorable game of football here today at Leichhardt Oval, our man of the match is the St George second row forward, John Fafita. Congratulations, John. That was a great game to watch. What was it like to play in?
It's hard, and we come up, today, and looking forward, to win, to beat Balmain.
For taking today's Man of the Match award, it's my great pleasure to present you with the NEC Game Ball Trophy and also a cheque for $500 from NEC.
Thank you very much.
If you did go wrong, where do you think you did in that, say, in that second half?
No, I think we lost it. Well, we put ourselves behind the 8 ball with about 10-minute concentration lapse before half-time when we had the 7-0 break, and then they scored 2 quick tries. That sort of put us behind the 8 ball, and a couple of silly errors in the second half there late cost us the match.
Roy, semi-finals full of pressure, but that's a good test for it today then.
Yes, with about 5 minutes to go, I thought, we're going to do it the hard way, but I've always said that if we win the minor premiership, we'll win the competition, and now with 3 games left to do, I think we can.
You want to finish first and have that break?
Yeah, I think so. Just reading the way that our team is, I think our team is a sort of a side that could do with a week's break and then come in nice and fresh and play a power game.
Well, John Fafita takes out the Man of the Match award, a match in which there were several fine performers, but Fafita's effort, I thought, was outstanding, and it goes back to back with some other good performances that the young man has been putting in. Now let's have a look at the full list of scores so far in this.
LINNANE cuts out a player and it's gone over to Burgess, and Burgess is tackled.
Last week in their game against Balmain, Cronulla played what I call counter-punch football, where they just grafted away and waited for the opposition to make mistakes, but that's a very difficult style of football to play week in, week out.
Michael Beattie taking the kick for touch. The tap taken by Townsend. Young takes it ahead and is pulled down by the second rower, Diamond. Here's Stone. Kinchella inside for Wynn. He's beaten David Hatch. He's gone inside the 22 line. Big run by Graham Wynn. It was a simple play by St George. They went 2 big forwards to the middle. They came back to the blind. They used the centre, and now they're pushing this ball right across the ground, right over to the scoreboard corner. Burgess is tackled in the middle of the ground on the 22 line. Here's Stone. That's 5 gone for Saints. Now they'll probably go to the air. Haddock. The tackle on Haddock may have been a shade late. I'm waiting for the ball to come down. Robert says play on, 6 more tackles. St George in possession. Off goes Morris. The crowd comes to its feet. Morris is only about 3 blades of grass away. Haddock, the dummy, around the corner for Craig Young to score. That's a beautiful piece of play by little Perry Haddock. He showed the ball skills of the most professional of front row forwards, like the man who scored the try. Watch little Perry Haddock here. He stood in the tackle, popped the ball around the corner, and big Craig Young, he was steaming ahead to pick up the 4 points.
The combination here of one of the smallest men on the field, Perry Haddock, got the pass away to one of the biggest men on the field, Craig Young, who did the rest.
Well, that's an ominous start for Cronulla. Young gritted his teeth. He got back and he came onto it. He knew what little Haddock was all about. And Haddock did magnificently well. Bill Noak, the number 10 for St George. A club with plenty of big name players, and Bill has been able to cement this second row position. It's a big effort. He'll get this. Does. 2 further points for the Dragons. St George leading Cronulla 6-0.
Carney gets us back underway in the NEC big game. You're watching 10 Sports. St. George leading 6-0, and here's Graham Hughes on the St. George bench with Brian Johnson.
Brian, second match back, I believe, after that back injury.
Yeah, Graham's second one. It's good to be back.
No problems. At one stage, it looked as though people were doubting if you were going to be back at all in '85.
Yeah, no problems with it. You know, I was a bit worried at one stage, but it's coming out good.
The smell of the semi-finals, of course, just around the corner.
Yeah, we're going well in all three grades, yeah, so the club's very happy at the moment.
Very hard. Glenn Burgess has been in pretty fine form for the Saints all season.
He's been going very well. You know, he's obviously got a bit of a future in the game, hasn't he? You know, so it's up to me to produce a good form to try and get back there.
Great to see you back.
Oh, it's good to be back.
Brian Johnson. This is Mark McGaw. Three-man St. George tackle. Wakefield. Carney. Play right on the halfway line. This is Ettinghausen. That's Wakefield. And here's Chris Whittle. Up, got his arms free, and again he was able to get the ball around the corner, but the runner couldn't take the pass. It was Russell that time, and there's Russell going in underneath as I speak. Hatch over the top. Here's Townsend taken by Hatch. Replacement getting ready for Cronulla Sutherland will be for Gardner, will it, Graham?
Errol Hillier is on the sideline, Ray. He'll obviously move to the forwards. It'll be interesting to see the positional changes.
Okay, thank you. It's away now for LINNANE. A little kick over the top. He just varied it up a little bit, and Jonathan Docking's got the ball. Taken by LINNANE. Both teams boasting a lot of size, but probably a match that could well be decided by the little men. Already you've seen the involvement of Perry Haddock and Steve Morris, but in that St. George side, you've got Steve LINNANE, who's only a jockey-sized player, and then in the Cronulla team, you need no reminding that their three little players, Docking, Wakefield and Russell, had superb games against Balmain last weekend. So here's Burgess back to take it, coming out from his own quarter. And talking of little men, they were there in that tackle. Wakefield around the bootlaces and Russell over the top with Noble. Played by Townsend. Haddock, and intercepted by Wakefield. Well read by Graham O'Grady. 6 more tackles for the Sharks. The ball struck full by Graham Wynn. Here's David Hatch from a dummy half run. Away to Burns. Out it goes the back. Oh, beautiful take by Diamond to a shocking pass. Wakefield again now. Here's Whittle. Russell, Carney going back into the middle. Got a pass away. Noble's about 15 metres out from the line. In fact, less than that. It's gone across to Carney. Carney holds it back, finds Mark McGaw. He goes back towards the centre of the ground. He's got numbers on the left. He finds Russell. Russell is held. He gets a pass away, and it's on the ground. It's going to be a scrum 5 metres out from the St. George line. This was the passage of play. Watch little Russell as he tries to get this pass away. He's held. He realises the importance of trying to get it away, and he's lost it going to ground. He rakes it back. So the scrum goes down right in the mouth of the St. George uprights. Won by the Dragons. Perry Haddock caught near the scrum base. Porter and Burns make it a little bit hard to read, these Cronulla players, with the famous, by now, Sharks headgear. It's Burns over the top, Noble underneath. This is Haddock. Now Kinchella, met by Diamond and Hatch. Stone. Solid tackle up the top by David Hatch. I know he's regarded by Gibson and Ron Massey, the Cronulla coordinator. I know he's regarded very highly, David Hatch. He's the type of player that suits their style of play. Played by Andrew Ettinghausen. Jonathan Docking, held by Chris Johns, and played just near the halfway. Here's McGaw. Knock on at the dummy half by Michael Porter. I don't know that Michael, through that headgear, heard the whistle. Haddock puts it in. It's scrum one against the feed by Cronulla. Russell to play it, midway between the 22 and halfway on the St. George end of the paddock. Spun through to Hatch. On it goes through Wakefield, and out wide is Carney, out of one. Gets a pass round the corner. It went backwards, picked up by McGaw. Referee Roberts says play on. It came off the head of the player. No knock on. Diamond comes towards the centre of the ground. Diamond is held about 12 metres out from the St. George quarter-way line. 6-0 in favour of the Dragons. Here's Noble giving a short ball back to Porter, and Porter is tackled. That's 4 gone for the Sharks. Noble again, and here's Burns. Burns crunched over the top by Craig Young. Now Cronulla may go up in the air. Here's Wakefield giving it to Whittle. Whittle puts up a towering kick. It's very high, giving the runners plenty of time. It's down and over the dead ball line, off St. George, so it'll be a line dropout. It was a good bomb by Whittle. It gave his runners plenty of time, Bill, and there was every likelihood of picking up a mistake there from Glenn Burgess.
There certainly was, and I think that Cronulla are using Whittle to good advantage. He's getting 2 off the rucks rather than 1 off the rucks and doing a top job for them.
The line dropout is going down for Andrew Ettinghausen to take it back. Oh, he's lost it, Ettinghausen, on the first tackle. Stone and Townsend made a double tackle on him. That's a costly give-up of the ball. Craig Young. Haddock cuts out O'Grady, picks up Burgess. Noak. Oh, flick pass for Wynn. Now for Kinsella. The crowd comes to its feet as Kinsella goes inside the 22 to be tackled by Jonathan Docking. Good tackle by Docking. Haddock, Linnane kicks over the top. Johns is going fast. Docking takes it under extreme pressure. Tremendous passage of rugby league. From the time Billy Noak went to the blind side to give it to Graham Wynn and then Kinsella, to this point in time where they spread it, they kicked it, and Docking was in mid-air when he was hit by a bombardment of Dragons.
In that passage of play, I think we had a good example of the fact that Cronulla are having problems with their defence holding the big St. George pack. Last week, they held Balmain with a watertight defensive pattern. That hasn't been the case today. They've already missed 7 tackles, and if they're going to win this one, they've got to get that forward defence in shape and keep players like Graham Wynn in check.
They really only hit the blind side twice, Bill. I mean, very much intentionally stuffed to the blind. Twice they've created problems down it.
They're realising that one of the defenders, Barry Russell, had parked himself on that blind side, and I'm sure they'll direct a lot of play in his direction.
Here's Haddock now working across with Young, and Young is tackled on the 22 line.
You can see here that Cronulla have got both Barry Russell and Mark Wakefield on the blind side in defence, so if St. George can run a big man at them, they're a good chance of making a bust.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they've been doing with Graham Wynn. Here's Beattie held, he taps it forward. No marker defence from Cronulla. That's the second time in the match. Perry Haddock. Haddock gets a pass inside. It was knocked down by Carney, and that's 6 more tackles for St. George. They should score here, the Dragons, but they've bombed it.
Classic case there of too many cooks spoil the broth. St. George had the numbers. Craig Young dropped in on that play and consequently dropped the pass.
Well, they certainly couldn't have written a better script for a try to come from it, St. George. Here's Cronulla off the hook here with the scrum win. Wakefield to the open side. He was, I believe, knocked out at training during the week, Wakefield. They actually carted him off the field from training unconscious. that he obviously has recovered. But it won't surprise me if he's not his busy little self, this man Wakefield. Although there he is, squirting into a hole now. Turning it back for Noble, but Noble is tackled 30 metres out from his own line. Diamond. 5 tackles gone for the Sharks. Wakefield. Carney. He kicks for the open spaces. It's a torpedo. It'll go end on end. Oh, it's brought the chalk up. It's out. 6 points to 0. St. George leading. A try for Craig Young converted.
Same Cronulla side we saw last week where they didn't make mistakes, and it's just another example of when you're playing that grafting sort of football, it's hard to do it week in, week out.
Here's Russell trying to make a break on his own. He almost did. Tackled by O'Grady. Here's those mistakes, plus no marker defence a couple of times. Everything adds up to this Cronulla side is not playing the regimented, disciplined football that we saw from them against Balmain. No question about that. Here they are switching it to the open side for Porter.
But they're still not playing badly, are they?
Porter to play it on the St. George 22 line. To the blind side goes Wakefield. He finds Diamond coming onto it. Diamond was able to get under a high tackle by Michael Beattie. Very much unlike Beattie tackle, if you like. This is Carney. He reckons he didn't have a marker. He's got the ball away to McGaw. McGaw played at the ball, so that was a legitimate tackle. It's hurt him too. And now it's played by Burgess. Stone. Hatch and McGaw making the tackle. McGaw is not well. I think he's hurt a shoulder, his right shoulder. He's favouring it a little bit, as you can see by that shot. Forward.
Once again, it was going to be Graham Wynn down the blind side, and only the referee picking up a forward pass stopped it.
Yeah, well, Winnie's having an absolute picnic out there. He's just camped himself on the blind side and says, this is my territory, guys. Just let me work down here.
I think St. George are very much playing to the Cronulla little men, not only Wakefield and Russell when they stand in the line, but also the fact they're using the chip kicks over the top in Docking's area.
As soon as you go down, you've got a little cloud across the bloody left. No reason to go.
And what's all this about? It's a penalty to Cronulla. Graham, what took place there, do you know?
Well, there was a bit of a struggle as the front rows were going down and trying to go for the tight head there, and Craig Young was called out for slapping the opposing player across the face as they were going down, trying to sneak off and take that tight head from him.
Yeah, well, he's allowed to kick for goal, so obviously it's been not a scrum penalty. Well, it's a scrum penalty, but foul play in the scrum, and that allows the team to kick for goal. So a slap over the face from Craig Young has cost him possibly 2 points. Just outside the 22 line is Carney. Currently, Carney hits it sweetly. It came off the boot beautifully. It's a goal. Cronulla gets their first points. St. George 6, Cronulla 2 in the NEC big game from Cogra. LINNANE sending it down. Oh, gee. See, that was a perfect case of somebody failing to talk. It was just simply a case of the man behind Diamond saying, leave it, I've got it, and there's no way in the world they could have made a mistake.
It was yet another unforced error, and when you're playing against a good side like St. George, you can't afford to give them mistakes like that.
LINNANE, Beattie coming from deep. Morris coming into the play. Again
Again, it's Beattie with the ball. Driving defence by Cronulla, but they shouldn't really be tackling at the moment. They should be running with the football. Wynn taking it to ground just outside the 22 line. Townsend spinning it back for Billy Noak, and he's proving a problem for Cronulla.
He's a good player, Noak. He's got a little bit of a step in his run, which allows him to beat that first defender.
He's young. 5 tackles gone. Watch for the bomb. Townsend puts it up. It's a high one. It's too deep. Oh, Cronulla again have made a mistake. It's a try. It's a try to St. George. Scored by slippery Steve Morris. And I doubt that Steve Morris will ever score an easier try. Cronulla absolutely fumbled and bumbled their way into allowing St. George to score their second try. Disgraceful passage of play for the Sharks. Jack Gibson, he'll be not disappointed. That'll be a gross understatement.
In reality, this was a very poor chase by St. George. They hardly went after it at all, but when Porter made the mistake, it was the speed of Steve Morris that allowed him to be Johnny on the spot and to touch the ball down for the try.
10 times. This is the 10th time that Cronulla has dropped the ball so far in the match, and that's easily one of the more costly mistakes they've made, as the scoreboard fully will testify. Morris a try, St. George 10, Cronulla 2. You could almost read it from the time Steve LINNANE kicked off to start after Carney landed a goal that this Billy Noak 1 out of 1 so far, but you could see it coming. Diamond was the first offender, no talk between him and Hatch, and then you had a front row forward in the in goal trying to take a bomb. I don't think Michael Porter has seen it yet. I don't think he's seen it yet.
St. George didn't even give chase to it until the error had been made.
Masters will be chuckling to himself. Noak hit it nicely, head down, and that's a goal. That's a nice goal for Billy Noak. It's 12 points to 2 in favour of the Dragons. Scoreline, St. George 12, Cronulla 2. Win. Young. Johns. He's on the quarter-way line. Haddock. LINNANE. Docking. Eddinghausen. Burns. Diamond. Wakefield. Carney. 4 tackles gone for the Sharks. Wakefield again. Burns. Whistle. A long ball from him out to Eddinghausen. Eddinghausen, he probably held on too long. Players around him, both left and right, and then he left it. And St. George come up with the ball. Burgess. LINNANE down in the back play. Noak. Lost by Townsend, and he's ruled a knock on. The crowd don't like it, but the scrum will go down nevertheless just outside the St. George quarter. Chris Withell getting some attention on one side of the ground, and LINNANE is getting attention on the other. So one by the Sharks, and here's Wakefield. Wakefield is tackled 9 metres out from the line. A quick play the ball required. Russell goes from dummy half. And it's a penalty to Cronulla.
And that break from the scrum came about from the fact that LINNANE was down injured. Wakefield threw a dummy and he ran straight into the hole where LINNANE would have been standing, and consequently from the error, Cronulla have come up with a penalty.
Familiar face of Pat Jarvis there with a message for Graham Wynn. Four straight penalties for Cronulla. 1 out of 1 so far for Dean Carney. This is an easy one for him by comparison. Five minutes out from halftime. His kick is successful, and so a couple of good averages there for the kickers. 12-4 St. George. Withal, giving it immediately to Docking. Diamond. Hatch. Wakefield. Porter. Gardner. Wakefield. Charged down by the Saints, and that's their ball. Wing plays it. St. George immediately onto an attacking pattern. Here's Beattie coming from deep. Cut out ball over to Kinchella, taken by Ettinghouse. Chris Johns. Kinchella. Haddock. Townsend. Noak. He's lost it. Sharks ball. Porter. Porter doesn't seem to be running with the same emphasis as I've seen from him in the past.
Probably not running as consistently hard. He's made the odd damaging run up the middle where he's made yardage, but he just hasn't done it often enough.
Carney. The pass back into the arms of a St. George player. Graham Wynn. Haddock. Morris away from dummy half. Picking up Townsend. Now it's in the arms of Burgess. Burgess got the pass away, but Noble was there to take it for Cronulla. The crowd came alive. They sensed another St. George try. This was Burgess on replay. He gets this pass away and it goes back to Brian Noble. But he was only a couple of metres out from the line there. Carney. Kick down to Steve Morris. It came off Steve Morris too. This will be a Cronulla feed. Close to the halftime break. Russell, Docking, Those centres from St. George up very quickly. Beattie making that tackle. Here's McGaw. Carney. Porter. Again, I believe you'll find it's Beattie who's made the tackle. It was. He's standing up very flat, Michael Beattie. He's a good tackler. There's no centre in the game tackles as well as Beattie. And Whittle was able to get his pass away, but Russell couldn't take it any further. Beattie again involved in that tackle with Robert Stone. And here's Porter, just over the halfway. 5 tackles gone for the Sharks. Wakefield. Carney. Eddinghausen gets a kick in. It's gone straight to Kinsella. Townsend. Stone. Terry Haddock. LINNANE sending Docking on a run right across the ground. And there's the end of the first half. 2 tries to St. George. One of them an absolute piece of cake. St. George 12, Cronulla 4. Here's Graham. Game, as you come back to Cogra, St. George's tackle count on your screen, and it shows Townsend leading it on 16. Billy Noakes down on 7, and look at that count for LINNANE on 14 from the 5/8 position. He's doing a lot of work there. Cronulla, a hatch at the back of the scrum, has made 14 tackles to top it, and that doesn't come as any sensational news to Cronulla fans. He's always up thereabouts as the leading tackler. A couple of those forwards way down for Cronulla, though. 12-4 the scoreline in favour of St. George, and there's a change in the Cronulla side. Here's Graham Hughes.
Number 17, Ray, Gary Hammond is on for Chris Gardner, who we thought before in that first half may have been replaced by Errol Hillier. I managed to get to the bottom of that. Apparently that was for Michael Porter, who's carrying a shoulder injury. He asked to be given an extra 10 minutes. At half-time he said he was fine, but it might also make you remember that Porter's mishandled the ball on several occasions, one, of course, leading up to that try, so maybe he's just not quite right.
Oh, look at this big run from Dennis Kinsella. Enormous run from the youngster Kinsella. And Wynn keeps the roll on to the halfway in 2 plays. Here's Billy Noak over the halfway, slicing through. It's gone down with Burgess to the quarter line. Burgess won't make it. He's tackled a couple of metres from the line, but terrible defence from Cronulla. Craig Young buffets his way towards that try line.
They've gone the length of the field in 4 play the balls.
So it's Stone who may go himself. He doesn't. He passes. LINNANE throws the dummy and is tackled on 5. They'll set it up here, possibly for the grubber kick. Here it is with O'Grady, stretching it to Graham Wynn. The cut-out pass, and that's a try. How easy it is for Steve Morris to pick up this try on the first set of 6 tackles from the kickoff. They simply spread the ball on the last tackle. Wynn gave a gem of a pass, and St. George had a surplus of players out here.
Well, Cronulla have come out after the break where they left off the first half, and St. George have come out with all guns blazing, and Morris finishes off a great chain passing movement for a try.
Well, there's the replay of the try again.
There's nothing St. George had to do here except catch and pass. They always had the numbers. Cronulla couldn't match them. It was simply a matter of fundamental football.
Here he comes. Bingo. Not too bad, but wide. And so the scoreline, St. George 16, Cronulla 4, the NEC big game from Cogra. What an explosive start for St. George in the second half, Graham.
Great start, Ray. I just do wonder, though, if Michael Porter is fully fit. This isn't the same guy that we saw in great form, especially in the Wednesday Cup, leading up those matches leading up to the Cup final. I just think that we might be looking towards that Cronulla bench for some replacements very shortly in the second half.
Evans above Dennis Kincella. What do they give him at half-time? He's come out like a hand grenade. Twice he's taken it ahead and he's made 75 metres with 2 runs. Young, Stone, they've coughed it up. Well, I thought that ball went forward. It should have been a scrum, but he's let play go. And here's O'Grady. Oh, Cronulla won't tackle.
Look at some of this defence. Cronulla are falling off some of the easiest tackles you'd ever have to make. They're just not concentrating on the job, and they're not hitting with the shoulder.
Craig Young, players standing off him. The ball loose on the ground. Linnane's able to eventually pick it up before Jonathan Docking came up to make the tackle. Carney has fallen way back deep at fullback, waiting for the kick, but the way St George are going, if you can make this much ground just running, why kick? Anyway, Perry Haddock drops the little ball in over the back of the winger, and it finds touch.
And the fact that Carney's at fullback, really, I can't agree with. It gives the Cronulla another small man in the front line. If he's at fullback, Docking's got to be in the front line, so that gives them Wakefield, Russell and Docking for these big St George forwards to run at.
Cronulla winning the scrum. Wakefield tackled by O'Grady. Docking. Way just outside the 22. Carney. He's been well contained today, Carney. This is Porter. Porter, by the way, was credited with only 5 tackles in the first half. Steve Morris having a bit of trouble with an ankle. He's getting some attention now. Whittle shoots for touch. Oh, came off Burgess and has gone into touch. So a good kick by Chris Whittle. We'll see Cronulla have the feed and the loose head when this scrum goes down 32 metres from the St George line. Monday night football again tomorrow night. The clash of Canterbury Bankstown and Eastern Suburbs. Penalty to Cronulla. Yeah, well, I should think so. I've said a couple of times that Beattie in particular has been standing flat. But sometimes I have wondered just where he was standing in relation to the back row of forwards. And that's the first penalty that Roberts has given against them, Beattie and Johns. Wakefield to play it on the St George 22. Russell off from dummy half. 10 metres out from the St George line. Burns, Hatch, Whittle, cutting back into where the major part of the traffic is. He's tackled 8 metres out from St George's line. I don't think he realised, Whittle, that he had Carney steaming on the ball outside him. He ran right away from him. Played by Porter. It's gone to Wakefield. He bombs into the scoreboard corner. Pressure for Kincella, but it's been taken nicely by Burgess. Graham Wynn, meantime, has gone to ground to get attention. Here's the bomb. The pressure was there for Burgess. Pat Jarvis taking another message out to the St George side. Pat, of course, standing down for the 3 premiership matches while the Australians are in New Zealand. As Michael Beattie takes the line finder, that's a giant of a kick from Beattie. He's found it just into Cronulla's area. Everything they're doing, St George, though, it's got a large splash of confidence written across it. Even kicking for line. I mean, a team with lesser confidence would have been quite happy just to find the line, but he went for about 30 metres and got it from the centre of the park. Here they are putting on one of their plays, and it's working like a machine, a well-oiled machine at that, St George. Here's Burgess to play it. Beattie's a dummy half. Quick play the ball. Noak goes hard. Noak's up towards the 22-metre line. He's had a very big game, Billy Noak. Morris out from dummy half. Lofts the ball over. Picked up on the bounce with Chris Johns it is now. And Johns is going to play the ball just inside the 32-metre line.
if they take the ball to their left-hand side, they've got Cronulla shot to pieces yet again. They're just not matching St George 1 for 1.
Here they are, up the centre with Johns again. 5 tackles gone. They may decide to use the football rather than kick it. It's gone to Haddock. Across it goes to Young. A long ball out to Kinchella. Back into the middle. Back to Young. Young puts in the kick. Down it goes. Oh, it stops on its end. And it's a try. No, he's given a penalty. A penalty to Cronulla.
And that was very fortunate for the Sharks because their players were prepared to stand there and look at the ball. St George were the ones that swung into action through Steve Morris. Slippery by name and slippery by nature. He came through after that loose ball. Unfortunately for the Saints, referee Kevin Roberts caught him offside.
By the same token, didn't St George get a beautiful bounce? Look at it. It just sat up there for Steve Morris, but how the name of hell he got there before one of the Cronulla jumpers has got me puzzled. That's what Bill was saying, but he apparently was ruled in front of Craig Young. Brian Noble taking the tap. Burns waiting for his winger to come round him. This is Burns again. Eddinghausen. Porter. Dived on by the Cronulla replacement. What's his name? Hammond, isn't it?
Hammond, Gary Hammond.
Here's McGaw. Wakefield. Running around.
Well, you could put a blanket over this Cronulla attack just at the moment. There wouldn't be more than 20 metres between the dummy half and the winger, and they've got a full open side to use.
And now they kick deep. And St George have got no pressure on them at all.
And here's that man Kinchella again, who's made a break every time there's been a kick to him. Whoop, got him that time.
Diamond made the tackle. Here's Burgess. Young. Picked up by Haddock. Handed off to LINNANE. LINNANE is held in the centre of the ground just outside the 22, his own end. O'Grady. Win. Townsend. Kinchella. Haddock. O'Grady. LINNANE. Flicks it out the back. Haddock's got it. On it goes. Out to Beattie. Beattie turns it back into the middle of the ground. There's Billy Noak with the ball. Another long run for Noak. Here comes LINNANE. You can shut the gate. Steve LINNANE scores. Steve LINNANE scoring the try. But this ball was allowed to be kept in motion by St George simply because Cronulla refused to put the man with the ball down. At one stage the ball went to ground. I'm not sure which pass it was. It could be from here. There's a ball goes to ground quite definitely. There it is there. And still they're allowed to play on. And the band played on. And we couldn't find a Cronulla tackle. One low, one over the top to snuff it out. Billy Noak running like a centre three-quarter, and Steve LINNANE into the open space, and another Dragon try.
Well, there were 9 passes in this movement, and Cronulla couldn't stop it at any stage. We can see that time after time, the ball was able to be kept alive by the Dragons. Cronulla just couldn't stop the progress of the ball. They got their hands on the players, but they weren't able to put them to ground with the leather, and that's what you've got to be able to do. LINNANE did a great job. He featured in the movement on 2 occasions and came up with the 4 points.
Well, it's a nice way to repay Cronulla for letting them back to the table. I thought the Saints might have taken it easy on them today and sort of said thanks for beating Balmain last week, but the Dragons, they're showing no sympathy to their young brothers. The border teams, you might call them. Saints 22, Cronulla 4. You know, one of the great things about 1985 Rugby League, Graham, this battle for the Winfield Cup, I don't think I can find too many people prepared to agree on the ultimate home of the cup at the end of that grand final. You see the St George side brilliant like they are today. Then you see Balmain, the Canterburys, the Parramatta's, the Manleys. It's probably one of the most open Winfield Cup battles I can recall in the last decade.
Well, this side is one of the favourites, St George, Ray, and they're playing some super football in this second half. Although you must admit that it doesn't take a good side like Billy Anderson to be able to expand upon this. It doesn't take a good side very long to sniff out when another team is just not on their game. There's no danger, there's no pain in the Cronulla tackles, and there's just one big queue out there on the field at the moment. 13 red and white players all lining up saying, give me the ball, it's my turn to score a try.
They're knocking one another out of the way to have a run, aren't they?
Well, their confidence is just, they're trying everything. Little chips over the top. It's all working for them, flick passes. There's no danger, as I said, in this Cronulla defensive line.
Yeah, well, they're obviously paying the penalty for, I would say, carrying at least one player out there who should have probably come off a long time ago. And it's a damn shame because he's not doing himself any favours. 30 effective tackles from Cronulla in the second half, 30 effective and 14 zero tackles, 14 missed.
That virtually means for every 2 they make, they're missing one.
LINNANE kicks, he finds touch. There again is an example of their confidence. He wasn't looking for 10 metres, he wasn't looking for 20. He looked for 30 and he got it. Scrum will go down on the Cronulla 22. I'd like to have this confidence when I go to the races. I'd come home either a millionaire or totally broke. I'd be a fair dinkum bankrupt if I got let loose with this St George confidence on a racetrack, I reckon. Beattie finds the line. Burgess. Here's Haddock.
They're just running so hard onto the ball, St George, because they realise that there's no venom in the Cronulla defence. They're not going to get wounded if they hit the line hard.
Here's LINNANE, met by Russell and Docking. Haddock back to the blind side. Young puts in a grubber kick. Here's a try. Here comes a try, I think. Yes. It's a try for Glenn Burgess. Off a chip kick from Craig Young. Off the left foot, as easy as you like. Big Albert, he just put this on his left boot and said, here, somebody get out of this. And look at Burgess. Storming onto the kick from his captain, and down she goes for another four-pointer.
Well, Craig Young displays one of the skills we don't normally expect to see from a front row forward here. It's the little grubber kick through in behind the defensive line. Jonathan Docking didn't have the pace to get back on the ball, but Glenn Burgess did.
Try for Burgess. And nobody more deserving of a try than Glenn Burgess. I don't care what match he's playing in. He's been absolutely superb this year. And there's the big captain, Craig Young. Just looking around as though, well, it's easy. Couldn't have been better placed by Big Craig, let me tell you. 3 from 4 for Bill Noak. He's one of my front runners in the man of the match. He's had an absolute picnic in attack. His tackle count might be down, but if you're always looking at tackle counts, you won't be thinking too positive when it comes to the attractive side of the game I'm talking about. There's the kick. And he's got it. 4 out of 5 for Billy Noak. 28-4 for the Dragons. Dean Carney restarts it. And Burgess to bring. He's looking for Kinchela. But Burgess obliged to bring it back himself. Kinchella's fallen in behind the ruck. He'll probably have a run here off the pivot. Here he is. Kinchela, let me at them. Plays it now 30 metres out from the St George line. Stone with the ball. Wynn's on the blind side. Young's on the open. I think the captain wants it. No, it's Wynn getting it on the blind. And he's gone into touch with it. Shadows right
right across Cogra's Jubilee now. Scrum win for Cronulla. Russell. See, by the time he got that ball, the St. George backs were over level with the Cronulla lock forward. Here's Carney with the ball now. Forward pass to Russell. See it again on the replay. The pass from Carney to Russell, bringing a scrum. LINNANE. There she is, loose on the ground, and it's with St. George. 6 more tackles.
I think LINNANE's had a very good game for St. George today, but while I don't want to be too critical of him, I think that he has died with the ball a little bit too much. I think on occasions he's elected to run when it would have been easier for him to support, to give the ball to his outside supports.
Played by Wynn. This is Stone. He almost gives the impression, Bill, and I know exactly what you mean. He looks like he's doing what he's been told to do according to the pattern at the time, when in fact he could have been making a lot of metres.
Here's Morris out wide, and down the flank goes Kinchella. He's down and up again, and now it's with Cronulla. The ball has come from McGaw across to Russell. Russell across to Hammond now, and a good tackle by Bill Noak. Snuffs him out 33 metres from his own line. Whittle, long ball, oh, it's going down towards the St. George.
Out.
Centre Michael Beattie, but Cronulla coming up with it, played by Noble. This is Diamond. Still 17 minutes of this match remaining. 28-4. Russell, McGaw. Russell again. Into an opening. Halfway, kicks ahead, turns them around. Here comes somebody flying from behind.
It was Steve LINNANE, and didn't he show a clean pair of heels? He's a fellow that hasn't been renowned for having electric pace, but he showed there that he lost nothing in comparison.
You watch him here. If you can pick him up, he's the man chasing Russell when he kicks, and now he absolutely explodes past them. So he's got a great turn of speed, Steve LINNANE. This was the little kick by Russell. He's a very smart little footballer, but this time he was deprived of 4 points through the blistering speed of Steve LINNANE. Now the big boot of Graham Wynn. Gee, that's a good drop kick. It's gone 50 metres on the fly, and E.T. brings it back. Andrew Eddinghausen. 30 metres away from the St. George line. 28-4 in favour of the Dragons. And that's why those big smiles are on the faces of those people with the red and white over on the hill. It's been a memorable day for them. They've seen their side open right up. They've had the accelerator down, and they've done some good stuff, but of course aided by a second-rate defensive effort on many occasions from Cronulla. Blindside for Wakefield. This is Diamond.
What's
5 gone for the Sharks. But what's Carney doing? Penalty to St. George. Getting some attention. The Cronulla player played it, and instead of picking it up, Carney just booted it off the ground. Stone.
Still not on the ground. Robert Stone there had 3 defenders come in to put him to the ground with the ball, but they're unable to do so.
O'Grady to play it. Roberts has indicated immediately that it was around the shoulders, the tackle. It looked pretty bad, I know that. But he was standing on top of it when he said it was below the neck. Here it comes again on the NEC replay. Whittle grabbing at the shoulder area. Here's O'Grady. Long run. The pass was forward. Forward pass to Burgess. And you can't blame
blame the referee, and you can't really blame Graham O'Grady. The man to blame is Glenn Burgess. He's ambling alongside of O'Grady. Why was he in front of him? I'll never know. All you got to do is slacken off on the accelerator a little bit and position yourself. Carney, Eddinghausen, a long run for Eddinghausen, holds it back, finds Russell. Russell's gonna score. Barry Russell goes all the way. Cronulla Sutherland, after 72 minutes of rugby league, have crossed the St. George line. No mistake. And so the score, 28 points to 10 in favour of St. George, 28 to 10. An early shower for Craig. And as the applause rings out around the ground for Craig Young, his front row partner, Robert Stone, takes it to 30 metres out from his own line. O'Grady. Townsend. Played by Wynn. Haddock. Docking. Wakefield dived on that ball. He may have got a kick in the arm here, Wakefield. Yes, he has. He's taken a kick to the forearm. It was Steve LINNANE who went through. Watch Steve, he gets a kick in there and crunch. Wakefield got it on the right forearm. Diamond. Burns snatched at that ball. He paid the penalty. LINNANE comes up with it. The dummy half is Morris, and referee Roberts is now going to put a scrum down. The ball lost after he'd called held. Russell. Carney. Gee, you know, Bill, Cronulla's had the opportunity on occasions in this match to use that chip over the top on the first tackle. I know it's unorthodox, but if you want to try and stop this flood of St. George defence from the scrums coming up so flat and so quick, you've got to do something to turn them around, haven't you?
It was something they used with success last week against Balmain.
Right. Carney. This will be taken on the full out there by one of the replacements. It's gone across to Hurst. Docking. Taken by George Morocco. Hillier. Turning it back inside for Eddinghausen to give it away to Carney. Back to Docking. He can't take it cleanly, and St. George's Perry Haddock has got it. 28 points to 10. 5 tries to the Dragons. Inside the last 5 minutes. Only remnants of the crowd left. Cronulla fans, they, I suppose, had given up just after half-time. And I think some of the St. George purists, they were leaving with them because their side was basically running at will. Penalty to Cronulla. It's an obstruction. Wynn getting an obstruction from George Morocco. And Cronulla's Dean Carney to find the line. Let's see if he can. Yes, he's found it right on the corner post, practically. Diamond. This is Burns. Carney, quick ball out to Hurst. This St. George defence, it's as keen now as it was early in the match. Russell. Kick ahead there by Wakefield. Docking went for it, but it's forced in goal by St. George. Graham Wynn will take the line drop out. Neat little grubber kick ahead by Wakefield. Well rehearsed, but the final execution not so good. There's the siren. Really a merciful ending for Cronulla. 28 points to 10, 5 tries to 1. And St. George running out victors in all 3 grades. Young, LINNANE and Burgess a try, Morris 2, Noak 4 goals. That was from 5 attempts. Russell a try, Carney 3 goals. A day that Cronulla would rather forget. Certainly a joyous occasion for St. George and their fans here at Jubilee today.
Mike, I would probably say St. George's best form in the second round.
Yeah, oh, you know, we've got to start hitting our straps now because the run home is going to be very important.
Very confident side, full of running in that second half especially.
Yeah, straight from the word go. I think they just busted straight through and we kept it on from there, you know. Once we got that lead, I don't think we're going to let them back in. We got a bit tight at the end, but...
And in the first half, you concentrated very much on the blindside play.
Yeah, we concentrated on blindside and nullifying all their attack because we know they had a big game last week and they'd get a bit tired in the end, and we decided to attack them in the second half. So
thanks for speaking with us.
Thanks, mate.
St. George's Michael Beattie. After this, Bill Anderson with our best player on the field.
NEC man of the match is the second row forward for St. George, Bill Noak. Congratulations, Bill. Everyone's been waiting for St. George to cut loose, and they did it today.
Yeah, we played pretty well, Bill. We just took the ball by the horns, and that's the way the game went.
Well, for taking today's Man of the Match award, you'll receive the NEC Game Ball trophy and also a cheque for $500 from NEC.
I've never won a Man of the Match before. I'd just like to thank NEC.
Roy, they certainly hit their straps today.
Yeah, I thought it was our best performance this year. I thought the backing up was outstanding, and the way we moved the ball about was very good.
Yeah, there was a lot of variation in the play.
Yes, it would have been a very hard side to defend against today because there wasn't any sort of structured pattern to our play. There was just good backup no matter where we went.
There's been winning form for St. George, but some people have said it hasn't been their best. I think they really did find the right form, semi-final sort of form today.
Yeah, well, we calculate that there's about a third of the season left, and if we're really going to be fair dinkum semi-final candidates, then we've really got to start playing outstanding football from here on in.
Craig, I guess the word confidence would certainly wrap up that display.
Yeah, team's playing with a lot of confidence. They're backing up very well. The third man in the movement's backing up, which is making a big difference to our game.
Yourself and Graham Wynn seemed to dominate that first half. Was that set up for so much blindside play?
No, not really. We just go there to play football. If an opportunity presents itself, there's enough ability in the side to take advantage of that.
A lot of good players coming back through reserve grade in the St. George outfit. Plenty of depth, putting pressure on, but there's certainly a lot of guys that are going to hang on to their spots in that top grade spot after that performance.
Well, you said if the 3 grades are going well, if you have a bad game in first grade, you might find yourself in second grade on Tuesday night, and that's the extra incentive I think each first grader needs, just a bit of a kick along.
So Billy, Man of the Match award in St. George's victory over Cronulla here at Jubilee Oval this afternoon. Now for the other match result. Cup Premiership table